and position in the production team?
Hello, I'm Isa Geronimo. I'm the overall head, scriptwriting head, directing and stage management head, and scriptwriter-director of Don Amore and Alma Halili.
Hi, I'm Mimay Tahan. I'm the overall head for Alam.
What is alam to you?
Alam to me is a production I've been waiting for ever since I've heard of TP. To me, it's like this epitome of Filipino culture. We really were able to depict the highs and the lows and really everything in between. And I love what we've done with it and the nuance that we brought to the conversation.
I agree with Nimai. It's a different kind of slam, and for this year we really wanted to emphasize Filipino culture, particularly shedding light on Fernando Amorsolo's works, and it has a very significant place in our hearts because it's the first Filipino spoken play ever since the pandemic. And so season 16 core officers has parang we have a sense of pride talaga for it. Yes.
For the second question, describe the creative process for the artifacts and the storyline.
So, as a scriptwriting head, in conceptualizing Alam's artifacts and storyline, we wanted to think about what Alam aims to address muna, which is yung number one, our history of past colonizations, lahat ng mga pinagdaanan natin bilang isang bansa, and yung current socio-political climate natin, both observed in our youth today, and so the fact na we feel like very distant, culturally distant to our roots, and so we wanted that as one of the main issues to address in Alam. And ayun, sunod-sunod na yun, in with that goal in mind, we started researching about Fernando Amorsolo and his artworks. Tapos we eventually reached the conclusion of wanting this lamb to be a tribute from the past generations to the youth now. So it's essentially a love letter talaga for Philippine culture.
Yes, and although I wasn't heading any committees or script writing or involved in actual directing, for me, I wanted for Alam to be very personal. So the artifacts are meant to be relatable and represent the Filipino people, yung masa talaga. So when I talk to the actors, I tell them to think of their own personal experiences in relation to their character and to talaga speak from the heart.
Speak from the heart. Speak from the heart.
Cameo!
Okay, last question. I think it's along the lines of why did you pick the 5 artifacts?
So it was also part of our conceptualization process. The core officers involved sa process na to was Cheska Salazar and I Fabio as well, our president. So ayun. So ayun no, we researched muna. We had a draft list of artworks, tapos we wanted to present yung most notable artworks muna ni Fernando Amorsolo, which is making of the Philippine flag. That's a given talaga. That was one of the, pag sinabing Amorsolo Living Arts Museum, dapat nandun yung making of the Philippine flag. So that was our number one artifact. Tapos the rest, we made sure na it would be relatable then, and it would be timely with the Polinian community. So we also picked, for example, we picked Sisa as one of the artifacts since students are constantly learning about her. So yes.
State your name and position in the production team.
Hello, I'm Isa Geronimo. I'm the scriptwriter and director for Don Amore and Alma Halili.
Describe your creative process in outlining and characterizing Don Amore and Alma's characters.
So for Don Amore, okay, so to give to establish muna who Don Amor and Alma is. They're essentially the representation of the older generation, which is Don Amor, guiding the youth, which is Alma. So Don Amor is the fictionalized version of Fernando Amorsolo, and Alma is supposed to be the embodiment of our youth today. So for Alma, she's very vocal and bold. She also carries a lot of skepticism and doubts, which is, it's quite common for us talaga in our youth to be like, ang dami-dami nating mga tanong, and we would always want to have like something better, which is tama naman in its own right. So that was yun yung character ni Alma. And I think my inspiration for her was just yung like the everyday people na I know, the same people who are very passionate about things. I use them as inspiration for Alma, and for her to become like this very firm person who stands by her beliefs. And for Don Amor naman, I took a lot of inspiration from Robin Williams' characters sa Good Will Hunting and Dead Poets Society. So he's not only this tour guide, but he's essentially like a very humble and heartwarming advisor, or like kind of like a parent figure na rin to Alma, who despite everything, despite ang dami-dami niyang pinagdaanan, he stayed like kind and gentle talaga, which is true kay Fernando Amorsolo. And this is seen then throughout his artworks, na despite all the things that he faced as an artist, as a father, he chose to highlight pa rin the good things in life through his art. So that's what Don Amor and Alma is.
Last question. How did you want to portray the characters of the two lead characters? Why choose two characters instead of the traditional singular tour guide of the Past Living Arts Museum? And why did you want to emphasize this for this year's slam?
So, yun nga, it all ties down to the original concept of Alam, which is to have a character representing the youth. So, I'll go in sa technical side a bit. Like, the reason na I wanted to have two characters is, number one, to set this slam apart from the other lambs, and to have like a new concept talaga, a new twist to the Living Arts Museum. And based on my experience as a writer and director last year for Glam, one of the criticisms was like, does lahat ba ng monologues kailangan maging angsty? So with that, napaisip talaga ako to have like a very progressive and parang a gradual, organized, parang fixed flow of the storyline of the artifacts. And so that's what yung one of the purpose ng storyline ni Don Amor and Alma. And it's also to make the transitions between the monologues more in-depth, and para matakal talaga yung messages, and para maintindihan mismo ng audience yung gravity ng monologues, because they really are, they took so much from the actors, and it takes a different kind of power talaga to deliver them with the same weight and depth from with the writing. For their portrayal naman, one of my main inspirations then between their characters was the idea of like an Asian parent and their culturally distant child. So if you would observe closely, parang medyo prevalent din yun sa dialogues ni Don Amor and Alma, how especially during Act 2 na when it was yun yung height ng play, and Don Amor and Alma were like arguing And parang Don Omari would respond in Filipino, but Alma would always respond in English. That was like another portrayal of like yung difference ng characters nila, of how Alma has become distant and parang she has really become cynical instead of being more impassioned by her country, and Don Omari has to constantly teach her again to have that spark, to have that faith again. So yeah, that was how I wanted to portray the characters.
State your name and role in the production team.
I'm Mia Santos and I'm the director for Planting Rice.
How did you want to portray the character of the painting? What was your vision for the artifact, and what did you want to emphasize throughout the whole performance?
I wanted to represent Planting Rice as a mother who works tirelessly for her children. I hope to highlight the hard work of Filipino workers and the challenges they go through, and the dedication, resilience, and love that goes into providing for a family.
For the second and last, how did you coordinate with your respective stage committees for the execution of the artifact?
Just like last year's Glam, I organized a meeting with all the stage committees, so logistics, CMU, and tech, and presented them my ideas in hopes that they could bring them to life.
So state your name and role in the production team.
Hello, I'm Club Salvador. I directed Sisa.
How did you want to portray the character of the paintings? What was your vision for the artifacts, and what did you want to emphasize throughout the whole performance?
So since Sisa is already an existing character, I already had like a vision for her from the start, and like even before Alam, I was already a big fan of Sisa's character. That's why I decided to direct her artifact. So my overall vision was like I researched some stuff about Sisa and about Jose Rizal's novel, like Non Limitangre, and then I decided to take some parts, like mainly her motherly grief and her like anger and resentment for the Castilla. We also like wanted to touch the audience in a way that's uncomfy. Like we wanted them to see the reality of mothers around the Philippines. Even though it's like pretty intense back then, it still happens now, even though it's not to a certain degree like that.
How did you coordinate with your respective stage committees for the execution of the artifacts?
So we had a meeting for like the vision boards and stuff. So we shared our different ideas and we communicated like what we wanted to see, like our individual thoughts about what we wanted to portray. So I worked closely with set design specifically because I helped them conceptualize and like I saw over the drafts and like other stuff like that. And then for CMU and tech, I also saw some updates from them, and I basically just saw what they were doing, and then I just looked over them to make sure that they were following the overall theme of Sisa. So like in CMU we had bruises for Sisa to like portray her abuse and to portray how like her hardships throughout life. And even though it's not just through physical abuse, we also showed it through her like her messy hair and her like dirty clothes. So like we can encapsulate her anguish. Yeah, that's all.
State your name and position in the production team.
Hello, I'm Chloe Soriano and I am the director for Fire Tree for Amorsolo's Living Arts Museum.
For your first question, how did you want to portray the character of the paintings? What was your vision for the artifacts, and what did you want to emphasize throughout the whole performance?
For the Fire Tree, there are two distinct figures that I really wanted to depict, which is a mother and a survivor. So, since Fire Tree is the only inanimate object, I was low-key like challenged. I was low-key challenged with how to make it stand out amongst the rest of the characters. So what I made sure to really do was to have the character depict this hidden strength, but also carried like the weight of this motherly figure. And since the fire tree is a tree, I really wanted to like show the fluidity in its motions by interacting with the audiences in the ways the other actors didn't, by like reaching out their hands, by moving their hands in different like fluid motions, and by really showing that air of resilience and strength that I feel like, since the fire tree is something that has endured all of the hopes, the fears, and all of the things that the Filipinos endured during the time the Japanese colonization happened, I really wanted the character to show all of the pain and suffering, but also the strength of the Filipinos that they have endured during that time.
For your second question, and last question now, how did you coordinate with your respective stage committees for the execution of the artifact?
For the stage committees, I was low-key challenged I was low-key challenged because it was last year during Glam. I was also a director, and we didn't need to interact much with the other stage committees other than set. And since for this year we had to coordinate with all of the other committees, I had to really had this experience of being somewhat like a head for that artifact. So what I really focus on doing is by updating all of them, and then I would have these small meetings between all of the committees by, let's say, set, costume and makeup, so that I can really bring the character to life, especially with costume and makeup, since we had many trials in bringing, especially with the makeup, with the costume, we had some subtle problems throughout the way, but we were able to make it work.
State your name and position in the production team.
Hi, I'm Rain Yonko, scriptwriter and director of Making of the Philippine Flag.
For your first question as scriptwriter, as a scriptwriter, you were all briefed beforehand on the overarching theme, arching theme and concept of Aalab. How did you manage to deliver your own ideas while also staying true to the provided themes of the project heads?
Well, the theme itself was pretty broad, and when we were briefed about the project and its concept, we weren't told to do things a certain way. So of course, when writing and conceptualizing, we were able to bring our ideas to life as well, while working under the same idea, if that makes sense. And since, again, we were assigned different paintings, they all said different things to us, especially since we were all different writers, we were all different directors. They were acted by different actors. So, in Making of the Philippine Flag, I know that there will always be a part of me there, especially in the monologue.
Describe your creative process in outlining the monologue and in creating the character of the artifact.
When I was able to choose Making of the Philippine Flag, I was so excited because the painting, it just drew me in. And from the first time I saw it, and from the moment that I was able to choose it, I really took my time. I sat down and looked at it, and I thought, what is the painting trying to say to me? And when I thought about it, I wrote it down, I wrote about what I felt. Then of course I did my research because I had to know its history. And from there, slowly, Marcela Agoncillo was no longer a stranger to me. And so the monologue for Making of the Philippine Flag was made.
You're directing naman. These are your directing questions. Okay. So, how did you want to portray the character of the paintings? What was your vision for the artifacts, and what did you want to emphasize throughout the whole performance?
Well, Marcela Agoncillo was a mother first and foremost, and I really wanted to emphasize the fact that she was the mother of her children first, before she was the mother of the Philippine flag. And she sewed the clothes of her children first before she sewed the first Philippine flag. And I really thought about that when I was writing the piece. What would the mother say to her children? But also, what would the hero say to her nation?
How did you coordinate with your respective stage committees for the execution of the artifact?
When I first met them, just through online, so it was kind of difficult because, of course, it's a different setup. But of course, first I showed them the painting, and then I told them my ideas, my vision, and I created a vision board so that they can also see it visually aside from just hearing me explain things. And I also gave them the monologue so that they can read it and they can get like a firm grasp of the whole idea and the whole concept behind making of the Philippine flag. But also, aside from that, I also, of course, like how the heads gave us creative liberty and freedom. I also gave them that. But I asked for updates. As the days went by, I slowly saw the painting come to life. So I just let them come up with their own ideas as well, while also giving mine and giving my thoughts and my suggestions and my comments. And slowly, making of the Philippine flag was made.
State your name and position in the production team.
Hi, my name is Cass. I was the scriptwriter for Woman at the Fall of Bataan. Yeah.
As a scriptwriter, you were all briefed beforehand on the overarching theme and concept of alam. How did you manage to deliver your own ideas while also staying true to the provided themes of the project heads?
I think that's how it is when you write anything naman. You're given a prompt, and then from then on, you add on your own ideas. I think the most important part was constantly reminding myself on how crucial this piece was to alam as a whole. So, I had one message to portray and I needed to do it as well as I could.
This is your last question for scriptwriting. Describe your creative process in outlining the monologue and in creating the character of the artifact.
Creative process. It involved watching a lot of periodical Filipino dramas like Walang, if you guys know that, because that show specifically focused on the Japanese occupation, which is also depicted in the painting. And also, it requires a lot of putting yourself in the subject's shoes. So how would I feel if this happened to me? Because you're a scriptwriter, you have to do that. You have to immerse yourself again. It's like method acting, but method writing.
So this is your questions for directing naman. Okay. How did you want to portray the characters of the paintings? What was your vision for the artifacts and what did you want to emphasize throughout the whole performance?
So obviously, the woman depicted in the painting is a mother. You know how she's unnamed, right? Unlike the other artifacts, we have Sisa, she's a well-known figure na. I feel like the woman is unnamed because it could have been any woman at that time, especially. Diba? Kasi naman, I said this in my write-up too, but while Bataan was the epicenter, the whole country experienced the aftershocks of its fall. So that's actually why I wrote in Kapampangan. Kasi what if yung soldier, kasi her son is a guerrilla soldier, who's to say na parang doon naman talaga siya nakatira. Kasi they move around a lot. Diba? So I was thinking na I needed people to see that this character isn't so far out of reach. She's right in front of you. She could be right in front of you. It could have been any mother around you while you were watching the play. And my vision talaga was to let people feel, I needed you to feel the pain of the mother through that performance. I wanted you to feel the grief thing of, the gravity of what she was going through. I wanted your heart to sink down to your stomach. Well, I did good then. Thank you. Ayun. That's really what I wanted to emphasize. Feeling her pain as your own. And how did I coordinate with the committees? I also asked them to so for set, I feel like the whole time we were really just playing around with the different textures that could be found during the different textures that could be found in the painting. Kasi it's like a forest almost, right? And you know how in the back there are orange embers or something? That kind of symbolizes the turbulence of that moment. So then CMU malamang the woman has to be a bit gaunt, diba? During that time talaga stress na stress siya, and there were tear stains on the actors then to kind of showcase that. And then for tech, actually for tech, I wanted them to emphasize, how Fernando Amorsolo has a very warmish yellow tone to his paintings. That's like a characteristic you will always find in every single one of his paintings. But for Sisa Planting Rice, Dalagang Bukid, it's always there. So I told them I wanted that yellowish tone to be present throughout the whole performance. So there's a specific part in Watfog, I'm sorry, I'm yapping, where the lights for tech, this part is blue. It was just supposed to be blue. But then I saw that there was a light that was left on that was yellow, and I was like, oh my god, that's perfect. Because I still needed that in the painting. So yeah, I feel like the whole time I was just really playing.
State your name and role in the production.
Hi, I'm Cheska Salazar, and I'm the scriptwriter for Fire Tree.
As scriptwriters, you were all briefed beforehand on the overarching theme and concept of Alam. How did you manage to deliver your own ideas while also staying true to the provided themes of the project heads?
Well, I believe, from the painting already, I think it really ignites a sense of hope and parang pag-asa in Filipino terms. And I think this already really aligned with the overarching theme, which was Don Amore and Alma's journey to finding hope that we once lost. So, hindi naman masyadong far off. It wasn't that difficult to find a place where my monologue can, help the story progress. So, yun nga. It's centered around the themes of hope and getting up from any hardship and resilience. So,
For your last question as scriptwriter, describe your creative process in outlining the monologue and creating the character of the artifact.
first of all, I looked at the elements of the painting. So, napansin ko muna yung tree, of course, which looked a bit aged but still blooming in its own right. And I think that really gave me a vibe of an older person pero may pag-asa pa rin. They still have their spark to them. And I also saw the church sa likod, and I think that really helped establish the other theme of religion as a Filipino culture in finding hope in everyday life. And I think when I merged the elements of the painting with the overall vibe to it, parang I was able to make a monologue na parang really conveys the same essence and the feeling you get from the painting, which for me was parang, yung Sunday bisita, ibibisita mo yung mga grandparents mo sa Sunday. Something like that. So, ayun, I really wanted to portray that, and I used the elements of the painting to be able to write a monologue with that.
State your name and position in the production.
Hi, I'm Moira Jonglai, and I am the writer of the Planting Rice.
As scriptwriters, you were all briefed beforehand on the overarching theme and concept of Alam. How did you manage to deliver your own ideas while also staying true to the provided themes of the project?
I think generally kasi nung una, I didn't really know much about the painting itself. So with the guidance of course, Ate Isa, I got a grasp of how she wanted the monologue to go. So through my own research then and through studying the painting, nagka-idea na ako that I wanted this to be something solemn and sweet, but still significant to our times wherein we have to speak up for our farmers. So having that in mind, I just went with the flow and wrote it in a perspective of a farmer. And I got a lot of inspiration then from my lolo who was a farmer. So just to weave that in and then, ask the guidance of Ate Isa throughout the way.
Describe your creative process in outlining the monologue and in creating the character of the artifact.
One thing I've learned from my past mentors, in directing actually, whenever you have a line, you have to look for the objective. So what I did when writing was I incorporated that. For each paragraph, I set out an objective, a specific objective. What do I want the character to do? So for the first paragraph, let's say my objective was to introduce. So doon ko sinenter yung mga lines around that objective. And I did that until the conclusion. And then I added some nuances from what I would notice from a typical Filipino and a Filipino farmer. And then that's how I basically built up the character and the story.
So state your name and role in the production team.
Hi, I'm Calamayan Lucero, better known as Cali Lucero, and I am the scriptwriter for Sisa.
As scriptwriters, you were all briefed beforehand on the overarching theme and concept of Alam. How did you manage to deliver your own ideas while also staying true to the provided themes of the project?
I think the great thing about choosing Sisa as the one I'd be writing the monologue for is the fact that she was like actually a character and a human. And also I had some brief background on her story, like her children and the hardship she'd endured and how she was perceived. So I think I used her role in the story of No Limitang Here to really contextualize the themes in Alam. So I think I really played into using her emotion and relaying that to the audience despite my rather limited grasp on Filipino, and I hope I was able to deliver.
So describe your creative process in outlining the monologue and in creating the character of the artifact.
Okay, so it was very, very difficult for me at least, because I can't believe I'm saying this, I kind of had like a language barrier-ish when creating the monologue. So my strategy was to write down lines in English first about things that I wanted, like points that I wanted her to make, the actresses to make during the monologue. So I would have, her mention Basilio and Crispin somewhere there, like trying to look for them, and then I would have her condemning the authorities that took away her children and her scrutinizing the system as a whole. And I would use small lines that I would later translate with the help of very, very generous friends. And I used that to arrive at my final outcome. And as for creating her character, I really wanted to emphasize her as a maternal figure, because I think, for me at least, that's where her strength is seen and her humanity is most highlighted when it comes to her children, how dedicated and devoted she is to reuniting with them. So yes, that was the process.
State your name and position in the production team.
Hello, I'm Rania, and I'm an actor for Planting Rice.
I'm Austria Lomina, and I'm a former actor for Planting Rice.
What is planting rice to you?
So to me, planting rice means a lot to me because as a kid, I've actually enjoyed the concept of farming and stuff. And even though I'm not really good at it, it doesn't mean that I'm not able to care about planting and bring light to those farmers out there and bring light to the struggles of those farmers out there.
For me, Planting Rice, the artifact, it gives me hope in a way that if people see this more, especially with Alam, it would bring light to, like what she said, the struggles of what farmers or people who do hard work, yet they get almost nothing in return. And I just really wish that people bring light to that even more, especially in the modern days where we wish that it was brought up.
How did you approach the character of your artifact? Aside from the guidance and instructions of your director, what was your own creative process in embodying the theme?
Okay, so embodying the character was definitely pretty difficult for me as someone who's more youthful and little and outspoken and likod and stuff. But I did it more step by step. So I tried to start on Planting Rice's voice first, like how she's soft-spoken and gentle and stuff, and then I tried focusing more on the actions, like how she's slower and the posture and how she moves overall. And then after that, I tried to combine them. I feel like I feel like it looked a little strange in the end, but yeah.
Okay, for me, originally because I struggle with Tagalog, so I couldn't really deal with the monologue itself very well. However, with a bit of help, with like translating it and like getting what the message is saying in each of the lines, I tried first off pronunciation, so I could try to make it make sense. And then after that, I just had to give emotion to those lines. And so I focused on those first and eventually started doing actions with arm movements, walking around, and stuff like that. The embodiment of trying to do it, though, is a little hard since, again, it's the main problem for me is really just the, what do you call this? Understanding it. So I really just needed to understand it to embody the character.
For the last question, what did you like most about the monologue or your character?
Okay, so I really liked the flow of the monologue and the build up and stuff. I really enjoyed acting out those parts. I think it's pretty well written. And for the character, yeah, I like her personality and stuff. And she's really good at representing all those farmers out there. So, yeah.
What did I like most about the monologue itself is, yes, it was really well written. I loved it. There were a couple, like, what do you call this? I don't think it's grammatical errors, but there were some errors. But either way, you can understand it enough. And I'm really glad, I'm happy about it. It's really nice. It was really nice. It was well written. And yeah, I just liked it. For the character itself, I love how she's portrayed as determined because she's trying to provide for her family. She's trying to provide for her kids. It's her personality in the monologue. It's just, yeah, I just really like it.
State your name and role in the production team.
Hi, I'm Faith Aguilar and I am an actor. I am the Batch A actor for Sisa.
Hi, I'm Moira Sandico. I am Batch B actor for Sisa.
What is Sisa to you?
Sisa is she represents mothers. Yeah. Also a mother that's going through grief from the loss of her children.
For me, Sisa represented not just the mothers but also the women who suffered in our history as Filipinos under the Spaniard reign. Sisa to me was actually a very important role considering how deep her character is and how important she is representing our history.
How did you approach the character of your artifact? Aside from the guidance and instructions of your director, what was your own creative process in embodying the painting?
Okay, so for me, it was actually pretty hard considering how long that script was. So each and every single paragraph, I needed to embody some emotion, which was also a bit mentally took a toll on me a bit mentally, but it was actually fine. It was not that bad. It was not that bad. But I guess it really helped breaking down each paragraph, not just with memorizing, but yeah, when I was memorizing as well, but trying to figure out how to act out every part of it, since there are a lot of emotions that I needed to act out in that monologue.
Me, I actually had fun doing Sisa. It was a unique experience. First time doing a monologue to that length that's also Filipino. I was honestly unsure how I was able to get the role of Sisa, but here I am as Sisa, and it was a struggle. Filipino is not my strong suit, but also like the emotions, the intense emotions that Sisa had. It was different from what I'm used to. I'm not used to emitting strong emotions, so it was fun. I had fun memorizing the script, and it was a very fun experience.
Your last question. What did you like most about the monologue or your character?
Well, what I liked the most was, I read as long as that monologue was for me, I really did like it. It really encapsulated the Cisa's entire life and all her struggles, from the point where she lost her children, she was looking for them, and to the point where she accepted it. And it really was like well-rounded on every point of her struggles. I really did like that monologue, even though I struggled with it so badly.
My favorite part? I would say all of it, but mostly the climax. It was very fun screaming at the audience. I enjoyed screaming at the audience. But also like the whole monologue in general. It showed Cisa's grief, her fear of her losing her children, her anger, and resignation, and acceptance. All stages of grief. Yeah, it was fun.
State your name and role in the production team.
My name is Thea Sevilla, and I'm a cast member playing as WATFOB, and I'm also a creatives member.
What does WATFOB stand for?
WATFOB stands for Woman at the Fall of Bataan.
What is the Woman at the Fall of Bataan to you?
Woman at the Fall of Bataan, for me, it is a story about a woman who doesn't have a name, and she's suffering in the time of war, along with her son, who at that time was already dead. So at this point, she's just living for a false hope that maybe her son could revive, or this war could stop, or maybe she could see her family again and have the community and how her life was back then.
How did you approach the character of your artifact? Aside from the guidance and instructions of your director, what was your own creative process in embodying the painting?
I think I inputted a lot of sorrow from a mother, and we didn't really expound upon that exactly, pero I was really thinking about the time of war, how other people must have felt that time, because a lot of times people aren't just names of people aren't documented, which is the very important thing in Woman at the Fall of Bataan, because she has no name. So it's like her story was just a story, a tragedy, a tale that couldn't really be brought to light by history. And I really wanted to emphasize on that, because there are still women, there are still people struggling in wars, in violence, especially now.
For your last question, what did you like most about the monologue or your character?
I think I really liked the fact that the monologue was blaming like the angels, like the Lord. Like it felt like realistic, because there are times where we really just ask why. And I really found it relatable that even how much she did to save her son, how much she did to care for her son, it still wasn't enough, and her son still died. And I find that a lot in many of my situations, because sometimes whenever you put as much work into it, it just doesn't come out as how you wanted. And I really wanted to put that into the monologue. So that's really my favorite part about it.
So state your name and role in the production team.
Hi, I'm Alexa, and I play Woman at the Fall of Bataan.
What is the Woman at the Fall of Bataan to you?
She's a grieving mother who lost her son during war, so her parents are really hard on her. So she's just a mother of a son.
Yeah. How did you approach the character of your artifact? Aside from the guidance and instructions of your director, what was your own creative process in embodying the painting?
about grief, because like it's not just about being sad, it's about like anger, love, sacrifice, and it's very heavy. And also unanswered questions because her son didn't deserve that. Like it was fate, right? And she does everything naman, but in return, God gave her this. So it's maybe very heavy, and it was also hard to portray because I have to approach it coming from like I have to embody the grief, but do not overact it, overreacting. It's not as very dramatic, but you have to remain composed, controlled. So it's not also psychotic. That's it.
Okay. For your last question, what did you like most about the monologue or your character?
I like that she's very empathetic, compassionate, and she cares deeply. Like you can tell her she's not like a mother na, it's okay, my son's dead. She truly cared for her son, and from the piece, I could tell she was a good mother naman. And she was very loving. That's it.
Okay. State your name and position in the production team.
Hello, I'm Angie Ramos and I play Fire Tree.
Hello, I'm Alice Shanna and I also play Fire Tree.
What does the artifact mean to you, Fire Tree?
So Fire Tree for me was like a learning experience. I got to learn a lot about our Filipino culture and our history, and it also taught me a lot of things about myself that I never really knew.
To me, the Fire Tree is about understanding a legacy that's left behind for you. The Fire Tree, from the painting and the monologue, the tree's seen things, it's witnessed a lot, but since it's really just a tree, it couldn't exactly express that sorrow. And so playing the Fire Tree and doing the monologue feels like I'm doing something special for the role.
How did you approach the character of your artifact? Aside from the guidance and instructions of your director, what was your own creative process in embodying the painting?
So in the beginning, I felt really hesitant and challenged because I wasn't really confident in my skills in speaking Tagalog. So I really wanted to take note of that and work hard on that. But in the end, I was able to gain the confidence to step out of my comfort zone with the help of directors and Ate Isa. So I really took note of the characteristics in my monologue. So the impactful parts and the sad parts, and really connecting with the audience in a way.
I was hesitant about the role because I didn't know a lot about the role or about Philippine history in general. But with Ate Chloe's guidance, basically my creative process to understanding the role was trying to visualize the perspective of a tree. Since a tree is, to us, just an inanimate object we pass by every day, I felt like I really had to understand the meaning of being a tree and the kinds of events the fire tree would see through its life. But mainly, the process itself was about understanding and embodying.
What did you like most about the monologue or your character?
So I really like that I got to improve on my Tagalog speaking skills because of Alam. And I like that I was able to learn more about our history and that I was able to step out of my comfort zone.
From the monologue and my experience of just playing the character in general, I really loved the experience because I came into the role very insecure, very shy about my skill, but at the end, I felt more confident and I felt like I had met a lot more new people, new friends, and feels like I really improved this year and I really got to come out of my shell.
State your name and role in the production team.
I'm Sammy Viernes and I'm the show 2 cast of Making of the Philippine Flag.
I'm Moira Jonglai and I'm show 1 cast of Making of the Philippine Flag.
What is the making of the Philippine flag to you?
For me, I actually learned so much about Filipino history that I honestly didn't even know at first. And actually playing the role, I learned so much about myself. So honestly, like the whole painting and story itself, it has a special place in my heart for sure.
In addition to Sam's answer, I think beyond that, this show and this opportunity became a medium for me to express emotions that I couldn't really express, on a personal level. So it allowed me to learn more and grow more and fight for what I believe is right in terms of our culture and what I believe in.
How did you approach the character of your artifact? Aside from the guidance and instructions of your director, what was your own creative process in embodying the painting?
For me, I really wanted to emphasize how a mother would speak to her children, especially in the context of Alam. The audience was all my children, even though they were strangers. So what I really focused on was like making eye contact and really looking at the audience. Even if I was rehearsing alone, I would really just look everywhere.
For me then, I approached it as a mother. I took inspiration from my mother. Knowing that this character also is a warrior, I look at my mom as a mother. So I took inspiration from her and her hardships in life and kind of incorporated it in Marcella and how she not only cares for her country but actually fought for it. So that's yung approach ko.
What did you like most about the monologue or your character?
What I like most about my monologue is how Marcela Agoncillo, she shared the story of the Philippine flag, her own story, and of course, like sharing the story of all the unsung Filipino heroes that weren't acknowledged. And that so many Filipinos fought not only with weapons but made their own sacrifices as well. That was what I liked most about my monologue.
What I like most about the monologue is how it's formatted. Knowing that she's a mother and her audience as her kids, one thing I've noticed is she's explained her story through storytelling in a way wherein it's easy to understand, but at the same time still holds gravity and weight to speak up for unsung heroes and still leave a mark and significance for the Philippine culture.
State your name and role in the production team.
Hi, I'm Cheska Salazar and I play Don Amore in Alam.
For your first question, what does Don Amore mean to you?
For me, more than just a tour guide, Don Amore is a father, a grandfather. He became someone like family to me kasi like his words throughout the whole monologue and the whole script really felt like he was someone close to me, like a loved one giving me advice. So for that, I'd say Don Amore is family.
How did you approach the character of your artifact? Aside from the guidance and instructions of your director, what was your own creative process in embodying the painting?
So first off, I actually took some inspiration from my past roles. So when I played like the older Mr. Hughes, when I played the older character before, parang I took that as a guide na rin. And yes, and after that, I took reference from the actual older people around me, so like my lolos and lolas. And one thing about me is I like Filipino films. So palagi kong ino-observe yung mga lolo character doon. And I tried to imitate like how they talk, how they walk. And ayun, that's how I was able to portray an old man.
What did you like most about the monologue or your character?
About my monologue, I really like the parts where I talked about Fernando Amorsolo's life and his backstory. Because it really immersed me in the character. It really made me feel like, tao talaga siya. He's more than just, the tour guide of a weird museum. It's like, weird museum? No, an odd museum. He was an actual person who lived on this earth and who was able to see the optimism and the good parts in life. Since, tao lang siya. He's just like everyone else. He was able to, go international to study about art and, just like this, that really showed like the humanity of this character. And I really enjoyed portraying that as well.
State your name and role in the production team.
Hi, I'm Sammy De Castro and I played Alma Halili.
What is Alma Halili to you?
For me, Alma Halili is a very firm and someone who strongly believes in her beliefs. Like, she's very firm about it. She doesn't really like hold back regarding her opinions, and yeah.
How did you approach the character of your artifact? Aside from the guidance and instructions of your director, what was your own creative process in embodying the painting?
For me, I tried to look for like similar videos that, or like movies and plays that maybe Alma would like, or that focused around scholars, parang ganun. I tried to mimic, not really mimic, but be inspired by their actions, the way they talk and the way they act around people. So I guess that really helped me embody Alma's character.
What did you like most about the monologue or your character?
What I liked most about the monologue first, and well, the dialogues, was that she's very firm talaga. She's really strong about her beliefs, and I guess it's quite similar to mine, since I'm also strong about what I say, and the fact that it was applied to her, it embodies the character more. And the part I liked most was, I guess, her and Donamore arguing. I feel like that was really my favorite part, because I think it really brings out what Lam was really about.